108.
Okay. This whole thing.
I got a pen right here. There you go.
Okay. It's never done that before. I don't know. I'm just getting it.
No, it's somebody.
No, it's
Diana.
yeah.
It's not his equipment. It's
Diana, I had to mute you. Yeah, I think you can unmute yourself if you need to. No offense.
I'm getting an echo in my hearing aids.
Oh, are you still hearing it now?
But that's okay. I'm okay. I just haven't had that echo. It's like, I usually wait till Lori talks and I turn them up. And then I've got it set.
Do you need me to speak?
No, I've already, I always do it at the very first because you speak at the very first. So generally, as a rule. And I'm okay.
The mics.
And I got my cell phone turned off.
Which two? Those are like 3 and 4, right? Or 2 and 3?
Oh, I got my mic on them. There.
Oh, I turned it. I'm messing with it too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So they're up a bit now.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, because of that. Okay. All right. I think we're good then.
The last 2 times I just did it, but I forgot.
Okay. Doesn't it stay where you put it?
I forgot. No, because I changed it down.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Probably should be.
Okay.
But you have water coming in.
It is 7 o'clock. Call our August 4th council meeting to order. Start with roll call, please.
Lane,
Here.
Carmichael,
Here.
Daniel,
Present.
Murdoch,
Here.
Ritter. Here. All present.
Okay, I would invite you all to please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first item tonight's our consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, the minutes from the council meeting of July 21st. Approval of pay ordinance number 391, approve ordinance 2544, adopting the 2022 edition of standard traffic ordinance. Approve ordinance 2545, adopting the 2020 code. Item E, approve agreement with Mark Neese for maintenance of several land parcels. And item F, approve fee resolution 1082, addressing blasting and adjusting temporary occupancy fees. Is there anything on the consent agenda someone would wish to discuss further? Or a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter. Yes. Motion carries.
Okay. Item 2 is call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on tonight's agenda. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted on by the council during. Does anyone wish to address the council under call to public? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 3 is old business, which we have none, so we'll go to item 4A, consider art in public places program submissions from the Arts Council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In 2021, the City Council approved the Arts and Public Places program. The late summer and fall of 2021, the Arts Council selected and the City Council approved its first piece of art from a local artist for a one-year lease. The lease expires at the end of this month, and as a result, the Arts Council has completed its 2022-2023 call for artists. They selected several pieces from 9 submissions, and each of the artists has agreed to that if selected, they will receive a $2,000 commission for a one-year lease for each piece. Funding for the lease will come out of the Charitable Contributions and Gifts Fund for 2022. The 2023 draft budget includes an annual contribution of $25,000 for a newly created public art fund. If approved in the budget, the future arts and public places projects will come out of this funding. I will turn it over to Linda Lane, who will kind of walk you through the submissions and the recommendations. And at the end of it, Linda and I will stand for any questions.
Okay. Linda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman. We are excited to have a lot of increase this time. Last time, we just had a couple. Well, our notoriety is growing, and we have a lot of submissions this time.
Do you want to do this?
Sure.
Okay.
You want to do it? Go for it.
Oh, I wouldn't know where to start.
So like I said, we got a lot of them. We even got one from the Netherlands. It was hard to narrow it down because there was a lot of good entries this time, but we have searched through them and we had a vote and we're doing our final full vote to you all for your selection. Butch Murphy has got these 3 fabulous sculptures, retrospective. They're pretty good size, you can see the dimensions up there. And he has agreed to submit 3 of these at once, so we would get 3 pieces for the price of the $2,000. We thought that might be good at the intersection of Toe Creek and 83rd Street, with some plantings alongside of it, and I don't know if you've heard or not, but the Stowe has a new garden club that we've started up, and we'd like to talk to people that are doing landscaping on that now, so the plantings, and we talked about doing bounced around before is the artist maybe knowing where the sculpture is going to go. So if we have a predetermined destination for it, maybe they could come up with something specifically for that site. It was also suggested that something go out to the Riverside Park, but for security reasons, we thought maybe these locations would be better. And of course, you all would select those locations. Our last one is by Will Van Erson. And those are the sculptures that he has submitted. So that's our four. Out of the nine that we have. We would like to you to pick one, or if you'd like to pick two, that would be great. We could do one of those locations, whichever you all would decide would be best. So, open for any questions, discussion?
So, yes, clarify, you're suggesting that we would select one or two to put on display for the coming year? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Not four?
Not
Okay.
well, if you want for it.
Okay. Yeah.
So then these, if we selected two, they would both stay up for the full year, not a half a year,
Correct.
instead of doing 6-month applications.
And it is those three plus that other one that, there was that one.
Correct. Those are the four that we selected with the Art Council.
I think the recommendation was to pick two or three of those. Those, is that my understanding, Linda?
Correct.
Was those are
Yes.
the three you have there are the kind of top three, but they gave you another option just in case.
Okay. And the idea is having three, then if you weren't able to come to terms with one artist or that didn't like a location, then you would have a third?
No, I think they're all gonna meet our
Oh, okay.
qualifications for setting it in place. It's just that it was our understanding that you all might like to have three.
Okay.
Because there was so many good entries this
Yeah.
time that we thought we'd let you guys pick. We have all favorites.
Are any of them local?
Oh, well, that one lady I believe is in Missouri, and I'm not sure, and we don't have any of them like we did last time. It's not in our city, but
Linda, I was just curious on the one that's not depicted here. What material is that made out of? Are those, is it just tin or?
it, I, it looks like that metal piping.
Sheet metal.
You know, like air conditioning or something, but
Yeah.
that's just my guess, I don't know. Sorry.
Mike, can you try to turn up the mic? I just
Yeah, I was just
emailed the
curious.
wireless mic.
Well, I guess my first thought is I would concur, I like the three the three on the one page. I mean, I like those pieces. I didn't,
Yeah, it was halfway down.
if we wanted to do three, I would agree with those three choices. Problem at all with those.
So those three by Fish Murphy, those would be one selection.
Right.
And, what do you think, maybe down at the end of Tilden?
Yeah, I don't, that kind of look neat. I mean, there's already a garden there. It would, could look like a herd, some sort of a small herd of some kind of grazing animals right there, right?
Agree, I like that. So I believe it would be the three silver looking ones, and then that brown one is not included in that group. I mean, it's a separate entry,
Okay.
so it would be the three silver.
The three silver are a single unit.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And then we got that,
The middle of the silver, would that gain a patina over time, or intend to be rusting some, or change, or is it gonna stay shiny?
you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Good question. So if we did do three, where would you think that the
it would be returned unless we decide to purchase it.
Right.
Yeah, the lease on the one in front of City Hall expires, I believe, the 24th. Don't quote me on that exact date, but it's the end of the month. It
Right.
expires. And so we could keep it, but we'd have to purchase it for $4,000, which we kind of outlined in the agenda item.
So we were thinking that that had already been predetermined, that they were going to, you all were going to purchase it.
I think we had
No.
talked about purchasing it as it was a local artist and the first inaugural when, in one of our prior meeting discussions.
Yeah,
I think we talked about it, but we never,
Yeah,
I don't
Never
think, we
formalized
didn't
it.
bring it to conclusion.
it's never been
I
formalized.
think we were leaning one way, but I don't think it was ever formalized.
But I do think the grounds around, certainly around City Hall, are big enough to support two pieces of art as well, right? I mean,
Well, and it looks like the summer fun one would not have to be a concrete pad under it. It looks like it could be
Just a
right
post-
into the dirt with
post in the ground.
posts, so that would be
Yeah, that one could go
easier
into
to
mulch.
remove and move without having to put another concrete slab down.
Actually, it's that round metal base.
I'm just concerned about the size of that big one.
Yeah, the yellow post isn't part of it.
yeah,
That's just a safety,
that's-
don't drive into
yeah.
it, I think.
Could you go back to that slide on that one? I think it said, what did it say?
yeah, it's on
It
a,
can be staked deeply into the ground through the 3-foot diameter pipes.
Yeah,
Right.
it's that metal plate, and that yellow is not a part of
Right.
it. That's just a safety.
Oh, I
it's a
see.
ball or whatever.
It's a,
Bollard,
Yeah, it's a little,
it has a chain on it probably. Doesn't
Okay.
look like there's a chain going from there to there. Like holding it maybe in place or something. Maybe I'm wrong. That looks like it.
Danny, what are your thoughts?
I'm with you. I agree with you. I think two things and I think two at City Hall and one at the maybe Kill Creek or at Miller Park. If we pick that one, that includes three, right?
Yes, the horses is all free, except for the brown one. If you wanted to do the brown one, you'd have to do a purchase separately, or at least him separately.
So if we pick the one, we get three pieces of art, and then the other one, if we pick maybe the summer fun, it would be the second one, or something.
Or if you guys want to do free.
Or if
that's
we
fine.
want, I don't know, Mayor.
How would you, are you
I like everything.
prioritize them for me so that we can see, or if you're thinking of all three, that's fine. We were just not
Mike-
doing the last one.
Mike, budgetarily, what do we have budgeted for the,
Yeah, so this is coming out of the charitable donation. There's the last time we did a donation, there's about $2,000 left in that line, but council could they could exceed that if they wanted to. But like I said, next year there'll be that $25,000 pool of money that this kind of projects could come out of. But for this year, there's only $2,000 left.
Maybe, knowing that, I would suggest maybe we would limit our choices to two then.
Well, especially since we're thinking of purchasing the other one for 4,000, so that already puts us
Yeah.
over what was budgeted. Not that it's that huge of an amount that I'm not opposed to finding a place from some fund to put it in.
I mean, I'd be supportive of the purchase, the first one being that's one of our local teachers, and the inaugural one, the combination of truly a local artist and the first of the sequence, which I think would lend to maybe 2 out of 3 of these, although picking it's going to be the fun part of it.
Well, my likings would be the horses at the end of Kill Creek and 83rd and the summer fun one here somewhere near City Hall. That would be my preference. I like the other one, but I think it's just kind of big, and I like the other two better.
Okay.
Kevin, are you an art critic?
No, but I'll go with Lori's recommendation. I'm good with that. I do like the idea of doing the 3 down at 83rd and Kill Creek and doing like ornamental grass or something around it, but I think that'd be cool.
Yeah,
So I'm all in.
okay.
You good
Rob?
with those two?
Kevin, Ritter, anything online, any other thoughts?
Okay, lost.
We did, we lost him for a second.
Yeah, I think we might have lost him.
He was traveling, so he might be.
Oh, he hit a dead zone. All right. Well, I like those thoughts as well. I mean,
Do you need a
I'm all
motion?
for that. So,
Do you need a motion?
I'll need to bring back the
Contracts.
agreement, the
Okay.
formal documents.
Okay.
So I'll
So I
do that
guess-
next meeting.
with our concurrence that we like the Butch Murphy piece and the summer fun, Duke on leases on those two pieces.
Do we want to make a motion to go ahead and purchase the one that's in existence?
Yeah, as I said, let's carry on then our discussion and decide, Mr. Mispay. Restless Spirit, what is it? Native Spirit. Restless Spirit's a distillery down in the,
Maybe it's a restless.
Yes.
all right. So I think we had discussed it, now I think we had concurrence probably that maybe we want that, but I guess we need formal. I guess we didn't take action because we were still short of the termination of the lease, right? I think is why, as I recall now, so. But if someone wanted to make that motion, then,
I'll make a motion that we purchase the existing art piece from Ms. Bagel for the $4,000 that was agreed.
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ritter. Yes. Motion
back.
carries.
All right.
Thank you so much, we appreciate it, we're excited to have all this, we've got another mural getting ready for Green Supply, we're putting that out, so.
Great.
And then we've got our art show and a live performance coming in
So
November, so we're rocking, you guys.
here's a mural idea, and I don't know, we'll have to talk to Sunfire, but the ugly white bridge abutments, as we go under the railroad bridge on, like, I don't know if we'll see if we could do it, but that's a lot of white space there. Maybe it would be too distracting for traffic, but that could be a pretty neat, like, two views, like you get one view going west or going south.
Cities where they've done.
Yeah.
Think of, thank you.
Seen that done on bridges or railroads at some other cities.
Okay. Now, item B, 2023 budget discussion.
Yes, council, a little survey before we start. Who wants this under 10 minutes? One. Who wants it under 20?
I said half hour.
Half hour? Okay. Oh, now you've done it. Okay. Well, I want to take as long as it takes to answer any questions and have a thorough dialogue on this. This is our 2023 draft budget. It's the first time we presented it to the council in its full form, or nearly full form, in terms of the budget narratives and the whole budget document. But at the last time we discussed this, the numbers anyway, the maximum allocations, the mill levies, the revenue projections, all the nuts and bolts of the 5-year projections, all of that, none of that has changed since the last time we discussed it. So the numbers same. What I've done now is it included depth of narrative and some specifics about expenditure intent throughout the budget document. What
Does the expenditure intent on this include the capital improvement, or is that a separate document, separate?
it would include the capital improvement. Yeah. So in terms of the formal action, let me get the right item pulled up. Tonight, we'd like you to have a look and actually formally approve the Exhibit A to the staff report, and this is the notice of public hearing for the 2023 budget, and it's also the notice of the hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate. As we discussed, our revenue neutral rate we got from the county, the mills was somewhere in 19.5.
19.9.
19.9. Our proposed mills is 20.8. So we're going to be exceeding that. And so that requires a public hearing that we'll do on September 1st. We'll also do the public hearing for the overall budget adoption on September 1st as well. And what you're committing to with those are these numbers here. You're not necessarily committing to the particular narratives that are in the budget or the particular line items are in the worksheet, but statutorily, you're committing to these maximum expenditures. And although capital improvements is not necessarily a budgeted fund, it's not on this list here. Yeah, but we do indicate an intent within our budget document for a maximum expenditure. So Rob, that's one of those policy items that I have listed out, so we'll talk just a second. So Exhibit A essentially is what we would like to put in the newspaper next week, correct? So with your approval, I don't think it's required that you make a motion to approve this, but this is what the public's going to be notified on. These are maximum expenditures. We're not, if approved, we're not going to be levying more than 20.8 mils, and we will be bound to these maximum budget authority expenditures for next year. Again, next year, budget amendments are possible for most of. So that's the particular document that we're considering tonight. Regarding the overall budget document, I did send an email. Everybody got that this afternoon, but I did update it. When I put it out last week, I had yet to include specific updated narrative information on the debt service fund. So I was able to do that. That's back in page 70 or so. And then I had not updated the policy directive table relating to new personnel positions for next year. So I've done that now. The previous version, I had left out the addition recreation specialist in the Parks Department. The numbers are there in the budget for it, and the narrative was there in the Parks Department budget, but it wasn't in this overall policy directives table that's toward the front end of this. I want to now go to that table. You'll see I've pulled up the updated. I still need, and there's a budget message, kind of a one-page letter kind of from me, that backdrop of the budget discussions. And then there's a summary table. It's a spreadsheet that just summarizes all the funds that we have in play. Those are yet to be added. But aside from those two things, this is more or less final form. So we start out then in the policy directives, and I think for our purposes tonight, these are the items that we've talked about during the course of the budget preparation, ones that essentially are the main changes from year to year a lot of times that we have. So I start with kind of a narrative about the Panasonic announcement that happened halfway through our budget cycle. And just how the scope and scale of that, causes us to have some different views on budgeting for next year and the years after that, and just how that we've tried to accommodate the vast unknowns associated with that, accommodate those within a budget that will allow us to remain flexible and responsive to needs that are both foreseeable and unforeseeable for 2023. We'll start then, Rob, with your question with capital improvements. The original intent when we went into the budget process this year, we were going to overhaul the CI, and that included generating a new list of possible projects, ranking those. The council did that. We took the results of that. We presented those at a previous budget discussion, kind of a 150, and we had council priorities there, and there was a funding line at some point. Thought we might be able to fund with that. we had intended to take that out to the public and have a public engagement process where we get feedback and then kind of redefine all 5 years of the CIP. With the announcement and the activities surrounding recruitment of Panasonic, we don't think at this time that would be necessarily a fruitful discussion, because we know many things are going to change, priorities are going to change, infrastructure is going to change. So the recommendation is to withhold that engagement part until the fall, later on in the fall, after we can have some staff time to more fully vet that and engage with the public in that. So in place of that whole back and forth process, what we've done is added an expenditure contingency of $1.07 million to the CIP for 2023. We have a list of possible projects for that that is included in this table. Starts here at the bottom of page 3. The contingency items, just as a placeholder, essentially, are basically the first 4 or 5 items from the council's prioritization this spring. Involves a generator here at City Hall, some warning sirens, renovation of the upstairs of City Hall, $325,000 for that, Riverfest stage cover, the bridge deck on 95th Street over Kill Creek, and continuation of some parks projects. All of those are 1.7 million. But in the document, we're just showing that that's the contingency. That's the list of projects that we might implement with those contingency funds, not necessarily the ones that we have committed to. If they are, that 1.7 is, however, in the total line item lump sum budget for the 2023 CIP. So we could implement those at those costs if we choose to. Other elements in the plan for 2023 are listed here. The bridge replacement project over 83rd and over the railroad. We're already doing that. That's the KDOT project. Downtown streetscape plan. I won't go through the rest of these, but those are the expenditures that we've laid out for the CIP. I did list in here some one-time funding sources that were expected, revenues. None of these are new. So that's kind of the picture of the overall CIP. And we'll get to the debt service fund here in a minute. Long-range financial forecasts essentially haven't changed since we talked about it last, other than that top line there. No, that's a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. We've gotten a little more aggressive on franchise fees. The increasing of the franchise fees throughout the 5-year period. We're looking at 8%, 7% year over year in anticipation of economic development activities. Not a whole lot other to point out on that. None of that affects the 2023, none of it affects 2023 budgets. Ones. So we've allocated specific expected revenues within the 23 budget, but these are all projections for 24, and they do equate to those 5-year ending fund balances and the process we have there. Assessed mill levy, as we've discussed before, we are proposing a total city mill levy of 20.8. The breakdown between general fund, law enforcement fund, and debt service is shown here. That'll be a reduction from 22.4 this year. So you can see how that trend line remains to be decreasing starting in 2017. We did talk about the revenue neutral rate and property lid. I think I've got in here 19.65 was the revenue neutral rate. We'll check on that, but I thought it was 19.6.
Your budget form says 19.9.
It's 19.9.
Okay, let me fix that. So we're not quite lowering the mill levy that far. Wages we've talked about before. 7% increase wages in the 2023 budget. across the board, and those are due to inflationary labor shortages and inflationary pressures. Retention policies drive that. We did talk about, item number 8 relates to the contingent. We do have $1 million in offsetting contingencies in the general fund. So we've had this $750,000 sort of contingency line item before. This is in addition to that. So essentially, there's $1.75 million in the general fund as a contingency expenditure. So in the projections, what I've done on the revenue side is I've added contingency revenue of $1 million as well. So essentially, we just offset those. The sorts of foreseeable things that will factor into that is a substantial building permit fee, approaching $800,000 from Panasonic. When that property is platted, the excise tax will be more than $1 million. There's public improvements going in, and we'll have inspection fees to cover, hundreds of thousands of dollars in inspection fees for the public improvement. Those are the sorts of things that some of that's going to be passed through because we'll have to hire inspector, some administrative tasks associated with it. So some of those things are the known revenues and expenditures, but we recognize that there's unknown expenditures as well. So that gives us the flexibility to make those individual decisions next year as those needs come up. Item number 9 talks about staffing. Then this is the one that I fixed. So we are adding a city engineer public works director position. We are adding a position for public works operations manager, adding a street maintenance tech and a water department technician, or I'm sorry, a wastewater department technician. So the public works operations manager will be promoted from within the department, and then the street maintenance tech takes that position. We're also adding parks and recreation specialist. So essentially, there's 4 new positions included in the 2023 budget. Vehicle equipment replacement program continues as planned. We have had difficulty obtaining the vehicles, the fleet vehicles that we've ordered from Enterprise this year. We don't have any of the F-150s. So what are we're short 2, or is it 3?
2 F-150s and 1 F-150.
And then the Lightning, which is probably a pipe dream at this point. We'll get on the list for next year.
Yeah.
But still intend to pursue that until we have one.
Mike, on the vehicles, we went with Enterprise to do that. Would we have gotten these vehicles had we done them directly on our own?
No.
No, I don't.
No, our company's working with Enterprise also on our vehicles and telling us that they're saying you're at least 18 months out. So if we're ordering for this year, we're ordering in 2024.
Yeah.
And that's with Enterprise buying 1 million vehicles a year.
Yeah, I mean, Enterprise has a lot better buying power.
Yeah.
Acquisition
And when you're
power.
only getting, in the city's case, 4 or 5, we're getting 8, it's just, there's no leverage.
Yeah, yeah. But we don't let them know that. We're still grumpy with them.
Yeah, the last phone call we had was not overly pleasant because I'm frustrated. So
Yeah, and they, what they said is we can get used ones within 3 or 4 months, and those are the returns coming off of cities, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, so we're still in our pilot period with them. It was going to be a year, but we haven't swapped out any. We don't know how that process is really going to go. So we said we're piloting this another year. See, we'll talk to you about that next year. On the building maintenance and asset management funds, we added an art fund, as we discussed earlier, and we added a Parks and Rec asset management fund to the budget as well. So the 2023, we have community center, aquatic center, water maintenance, sewer maintenance, technology, parks, and art funds. So those last 2 are new additions this year. These are the annual funding levels.
Can I just ask a question on that too? When it comes to the parks funds and the art fund, I mean, the parks fund, I guess, is probably a little bit more obvious because the rest of them were kind of put into an account for when we needed something came up, upgrade, replacement,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, more or less.
And so the Parks Fund, is that, I mean, will be used, they can take it and spend it how they want every year type thing? Or is that also kind of a upgrade replacement? Because that's kind of what I thought we were doing these others for, knowing that we're going to have
So
money.
the understanding of all the others that's correct.
Right.
You know, we'd like to be a little more deliberate. We kind of call them asset management funds. So eventually we want to have full programs and we know what we need to do, kind of have 5-year CIPs.
Right.
The Arts Fund, we're still, I think it's still being determined how that will function, what those funds will be dedicated for, who will make those decisions. But it's not anything sort of like an asset. We don't have any assets right now, right? So it's not a replacement of.
Right, right.
This would be
I guess
new.
my question when it got, to the Arts Fund was, what is it for exactly? So that there's, I mean, I think we should have a policy in place on what we're talking about with that, so that it's not just Arts Council knocking on our door every month, dollars for something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes sense to establish some expected expenditures.
Because that's quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
for starting out on when we're going from $2,000 or $4,000 to $25,000, that's, quite a bit that was added into. So I just am curious of what, in the back of your mind, where that number came up. And I mean, it's higher than technology, and technology is, kind of a big thing on everything. It's higher than the sewer fund. It's higher than the aquatic, well, not quite, but, so I guess I'm kind of curious as to what would all fall into that, because I don't think that includes concerts in the park or anything. I think that's just art projects.
No, those are budgeted elsewhere.
So,
Yeah. But it's a good point. We do need to vet that. We do. We need to have some framework around what the expectations are. And I don't have an answer if we don't know that.
Mayor, I think you made it, oh, I'm sorry.
Does that park funds include things that would go towards, like, pool painting, maintenance, I mean, just,
Yeah.
so things that we voted on in the past, this would be incorporated into some of that?
Well, of course, we'll still vote on them, if
But
they
I
rise to the
mean,
level.
like the water slide or the painting of the pool or?
Yeah, so that's the aquatic center fund on the pool stuff, but it's the same idea for the parks, the
Playground equipment,
yeah,
replacement,
the shelter
I mean,
house,
just,
repaving the road, some gravel road somewhere. On the parks, just for the parks and recreation.
so effectively, part of that money is stuff we would already be spending. Asset allocation where this is just annually, kind of like we did with the building here.
Exactly like that, yeah, yeah. And the intent, like I said, long term, is that these are. I think we probably had the best start on the community, this building here, because we did that whole city hall master plan. We determined how much equipment we have to replace. We have a sort of a schedule in place, and the intent would be to do the similar thing for all these other funds. I think probably the water and the sewer fund are pretty anemic. The funding level here, we're gonna have a lot higher need, but they're great placeholders. And so, until we get those long-term plans established, but that is the intent, and that goes for the Parks Fund too.
And ideally, those two would be rolled into the rate structure of each of those.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't be.
Yeah. And like Rob said, it's stuff that we've been doing.
Right.
And it is. We just haven't had a deliberate approach, a deliberate planned out approach. So we tend to put out fires rather than anticipate needs.
And I think,
Kevin, you had a thought?
yeah, I think we were talking art fund before. I think you mentioned, the idea that something that allows for some contingency or percentage of art as we're doing other projects. And I don't know if that'd come out of this or not, but
I think that's what this started from, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
kind of the art in public places, or including art in other
such
a
as when
road
we did the
project
roundabout,
or-
might it have funds for art, or when we
Right.
do the railroad bridge, might it allow, or when we do the modification on the second floor, might
Right.
this allow for some art component? I guess I interpreted, you know, it may not be just things like funding the art program that we discussed earlier in the agenda. Is this where we would also draw money for other?
I would think so, yeah, when
Yeah,
we're.
that's what I would too.
Those were good examples. If we renovate upstairs, to put
To
some
allow
art
for some
pieces
art.
up there, that would
Yeah.
allow
The
some
one that
funds
feels
to do
anemic
that.
to me is the technology fund, and Rob, maybe you can weigh in on this a little bit, but I guess I hope that we've also, you know, kind of like any other maintenance plan, I hope that we're adequately funding technology upgrades and replacements and,
Yeah.
and systems. 17,750 just feels a little thin for annual technology
Here's my
spend.
thought on that, it's just a matter of what that's inclusive of.
So do we have some sort of,
Yeah, we
IT
do.
plan
We do
that we're
have,
working from.
Bonnie did a lot of work on that.
okay, good.
She's got the inventory of how many computers we have, the laptop, tablets. kind of-
Server systems, firewalls, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's all
Software,
kind
annual
of
Software.
subscription.
baked into there.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Because when your computers are gonna be on a 3 to 4 year lifespan cycle. So I mean, number of employees times
yep.
divide over the course of 3 or 4. I mean, it adds up, but not substantially. So it's a matter of what that is inclusive of.
It's a pretty decent shot at it anyway. And we'll, if it's not enough, then we'll adjust that up
Did the
next year.
Technology also include the upgrade of, the turning on and off the pumps remotely and that kind of thing, or is that in the water fund?
No, that'd be in the water fund.
Oh, okay. So that technology is
Well,
separate.
when you talk about that sort of thing, that's kind of integral to the public works operation of the plant. Now, they have computers out there
Yeah.
at the water plant and computers at the sewer plant that are included in this. And those
That
funds,
are included in the water or the technology?
they're included in the technology fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mike, on the licensing and other stuff, being the city, we're nonprofit status on that type of licensing costs.
yeah, for the Microsoft licenses, yeah. And those aren't in here, those are in the operations.
That makes it substantially cheaper.
Yeah, we get pretty good deal on those.
I mean, the business premium license is $5 a month for you at that point for the entire month.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where, from the business side, you may be thinking, we paid this much in licensing, but from the nonprofit, there's a bit variance in there too, which would play into that being lower than maybe you would think it would be.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so
I think,
I'll,
Mike, your time is up, so
Is
I
it?
don't know if you're, no, I'm just kidding.
it is. It's almost up. This won't take much longer. The road maintenance program, chugging along. We're upping that to from 500,000 to 550,000. Mowing is another thing we talked quite a bit. Brandon put together a really good, thorough analysis on that. So the budget does include the capability for us to bring the mowing in-house in 2023 if we want to do that, and to keep it in-house throughout the 5-year projection period. The plan for right now is we're going to go out for bids on the mowing package again and see where they come in this year, and then make a decision at that time with the council as to whether or not. We know, I mean, it's very likely that it's going to cost more to bring it in-house, about $78,000 more. Or is it 64? No,
78.
yeah, $78,000 more. But then the trade-offs would be that we would have personnel who would be here during the non-mowing months to do other functions in the street and the park department. So we can make that call later on. But we do intend to submit that for out for bid. The schedule on that sometime in November.
Yeah, the plan is to come back to you, probably the second meeting in November is when we come back. That would give us enough lead time to get the mowers, the actual physical piece of equipment before kind of that April deadline. Because just like everything else, there's lead times and
Yeah.
extended supply chain issues.
Okay. The water fund, not a whole lot to report there, other than we do have factored in a 4% increase in the water rate, followed by a 3% increase next year. largely due to inflationary factors that we're all aware of. Sewer fund, very similar. The 23 budget has a 3% increase for that. And also expenses are up because inflationary factors. So that is that concludes the policy directives portion of this. Again, we would like to advertise for the public hearings for September 1st. We hold those public hearings, and then that would allow us actually another council meeting if we want to further deliberate anything or get more. September 15th, we could still have and actually formally approve the budget and get it in time. It needs to be down at the county by October 1st. Is that's the date? Yeah. So that is the plan. I'll stop there, answer any questions you might.
Question on water sewer rate increases. Those are irrespective of any of the development going on in the southwest area. Those are just basically inflationary increases. And so as things actually get built and start using water and sewer out there, and they become higher demand, then that has the ability to potentially reduce these again.
Yeah. In general, yeah, that's.
But I mean, obviously, they've got to start drawing water and using sewer
Yeah.
to be paying for it. So
That's correct.
these increases are unrelated to any of the developments. They're just what it costs to
Yeah.
run right now.
Yep.
And
Yep.
in a couple of years, when they start using water sewer, then we can potentially
Yeah.
for our
So
residents.
we have treatment plant expansions to do between then and now, right? And so it'll be a kind of a reset on both of those funds because we have a lot of expense and we'll have debt service on that expense and great big users coming in.
But the debt service
That'll kind of be a reset.
should be taken care of through the take or pay.
So yeah, the discussion there is how much expansion do we want to do? We don't want to just expand for one project that we know is coming in. Now, we could do that, and the take or pay be more than enough to pay for that expansion. But it doesn't make sense to do that. We need to expand to a reasonable level for what we know is coming in and future growth in the next 5 years. So it could be that we're in a position where this larger expansion, the take or pay agreement doesn't quite cover it all. That's a possibility. I don't think we're going to go too much for, out. It's just the judgment call on how much capital do we want to put, how much future proofing do we do, and how much can wait for later. So those are discussions that we're having now with the consultants on all sides. Okay, how much flows, how big the pipe, how big is the pipe. We're having all those discussions now, talking about those little bond count. So those kind of resets on that in a large way. I would say to that point though that this budget, aside from the contingency chunks that we've talked about already, and being a little more aggressive on the franchise revenue, this budget doesn't really account for the world of the pending wave that's coming. It really doesn't, and a lot of that's because it's there's so many unknowns. It's just hard to throw figures at it. So. And it was hit kind of halfway through our budget process. So I think moving forward for next year, we're going to have to start rolling in some of those things and incorporating some of that stuff in our projections. But right now, this is a kind of a status quo type of a document. I think it makes sense to do it that way. Just, there's so many moving parts, throwing numbers into future revenues and throwing, we need 7 more people in this department and that. I think that's not overly fruitful at this point.
So I think that's a good point to make, that, the expenditures, what we have as a total dollar amount is higher. The mill levy isn't, but, the total dollar, but that's that's just based on our community growth where we've been, the new services that we're offering to people, the improvements in roads and sidewalks and park projects. I mean, it's things that, would be there whether we had the Southwest growth coming or not going. That's just general where we're at. And I think it's really important for the public to know that, you know, we haven't had to make it and haven't yet made big changes in spending more money just because of some, that's
Yeah,
just where
well,
we're at now in our city budget. I mean, it's
This
right
doesn't
there.
show
You
you
can see it.
revenues are doing
Right.
the same thing.
Right,
Right.
right, the revenue,
Right.
that's what I mean. I mean, it's just because we're bigger with houses and the businesses that we have here and our revenues are up or everything is, and that's why it, you know, the mill levy doesn't have to go up. But it's just for what we are right at a community right now. It's a good reflection that we've had growth and it's been good growth and we're able to do for the community more because of that, so.
We're not seeing an increase in how much we're collecting based upon that being used out, necessarily out in the Panasonic or those projects yet either at this point.
Yeah, this doesn't project those. We're not projecting those yet.
Touch that.
Yeah, right. Right.
Okay. I guess I'll just throw one more point in. 35%, our mill rate has dropped 35% over the past 5 years. I mean, from that 27 to 20, that's 35%. That's averaging 7% a year. I mean, it doesn't quite offset, and we've had, 8 to 12% increases in assessed valuation, but I mean, I think we as a community have done our best to, we're not taking advantage of any great windfall. We are budgeting what we need every year, looking carefully at how we spend the money, and I think that is pretty good proof of that. When you look at, that's a pretty darn amazing number in my mind.
Well, and we're also a portion of the property tax comparatively to some of the county and especially school district and the others as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that we can be proud of. Yeah, and we've been very deliberate about the increases in service commitments too. I think we've been very thoughtful about those types of decisions.
Okay, are there any other questions from anyone?
There's no action on what we're doing tonight.
I think you need concurrence to print or publish?
Really, no action. The statutes do not require your approval
Oh,
for
you
us
can
to
just
put
go do
this
it.
notice in the paper, but
Okay.
yeah, I really wanted, your concurrence with this. So as long as we have that, we'll publish this next week and take it up.
From each of us.
I think so. I'll just do a general. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And Kevin, Ritter, I can't see you nod, but I'm gonna.
He's there.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. We'll take this up on the September 1st.
All right. No executive session?
Nope.
So we will move on to advisory reports. Mike, what do you have for us?
Yes, Council, a few things, FYI. We are recruiting for a new city engineer public works position. We had very strong candidates, both of them. We're interviewing one tomorrow and interviewing another on Tuesday. And the mayor's going to be part of those, a part of a portion of those interviews, so he'll be able to have some input into that process as well. So very happy with the two applicants that are coming. It's still open. We're still accepting resumes. Job will be open for another couple of weeks. I am out of the office next week, Wednesday through Friday. I'm going to leave Brandon in charge. He doesn't know that yet, but now he does.
Yes.
Want a reminder, if you've driven K10, you've seen the sign. They're going to be tearing the bridge deck off the westbound bridge at Lexington Avenue over the weekend. So they're going to need to close Lexington Avenue under that bridge. So that's going to start at 5 p.m. on Friday, and they'll open it back up before rush hour on Monday.
Did the exit close today?
No, I haven't been out there today, but they were adjusting the traffic because they're going to have to take all the westbound traffic, shoe fly it over to the eastbound lanes.
As soon as they get that all done, that's when
They
that
may
exit
have-
I
closes.
thought the date I saw was August 4th.
Okay, they may have
on the
closed.
exit closing and then
Yep. Yep,
Friday,
so that
Saturday being under the bridge,
you can't get off of Lexington coming westbound. The detour is you have to go all the way down
Edgerton.
to Edgerton and
come
take
back.
a U-turn. Yep.
When's the temporary light at Kill Creek going in?
The contractor expects to start that next week, and they think it'll take about a week. So we're lined up to get that in.
They have
just
to
in
do a
time.
little emergency patch on the bridge over Kill Creek. They were in there working and now there's steel plate.
On K-10?
Over
Yeah.
the creek itself. Yeah. So, so the bridge over Lexington Avenue has been it's been a pipeline. It's
Right.
been planned for.
No, right, but I'm talking over the creek.
Yeah, they're doing 2 or 3 other bridges. Kill Creek, the one over Cedar Creek.
Right. They're doing 3, but I thought it looked like they were doing a little emergency repair on, because now there's steel plates out there
Yep.
too, so.
Yep, so
Yes, they are
more than
doing an
just
emergency, bigger repair, but
Yeah. Yeah.
looked like they were out there even sooner on a particular problem.
It stinks that it's starting at school time, but they're starting late in the year, so it looks like they may get done in quarter time frame overall instead of 6 months.
There's no promises. Yeah.
But we'll
No,
see
they
it.
don't have any promises.
Don't count.
According to their timeline, but we'll see it.
It's not a whole lot better than it was. I mean, their scheduled timeline isn't, which was 6 months. Well, how long?
Well, they started a month later. So I think that's Rob's point.
Oh,
They
okay.
didn't,
Well, and
Oh,
they're talking done by November is supposedly, so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. We'll try.
Be nice if it is done that quicker than last year.
it won't be.
There's no argument that the bridges need work, though.
Nope, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, that was all I had. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I would say mixed reviews on the shirt in the office today. Some people liked it. Some people didn't. I know you're wondering.
Would have been better if I loaned you this tie.
That's true.
Yeah, well, Patrick's up.
I'm down with it,
I
and I have nothing, Mayor.
Nothing?
Thank you.
All right. City Administrator, Assistant City Administrator.
The only thing I have, Mayor, is we have that appointment for Michelle May.
Well, yeah, I was gonna,
Okay.
we'll do it right now.
I'll turn it back over to you to talk about
Okay.
Michelle.
So I mentioned it last time, Michelle May, Athletic Director, Assistant. I would like to officially appoint her to the Park Board to fill the spot from, that Ryan Johnson had and when he left town. So I would ask for your concurrence on that appointment. Someone want
So
to make
moved.
that? There we go.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you, Brandon.
That's it.
Okay. Council comments. Danny?
Nothing nightmare, thank you.
All right. Kevin?
Nothing.
Lori?
Nothing I can think of. Thank you, Mayor.
Rob?
Nothing tonight. Kevin
Ritter?
Just to keep it short, I'll call Mike about an issue tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think I have anything to share tonight.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned.
Mike, you said you sent something out today?
I sent an email, about the updated budget document.
I didn't get it.
So, Rob,
Would you
another way
mind
to.
signing this for
That
Mark
thing
Knight?
right at the top of your list
Send that to him.
with the blue dot. Click on that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think
guess
it's
you
one
sign
of
all
those
this
come
stuff.
from contractors having problems.
Oh,
I just
I
forwarded
thought
that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
'Cause
well,
From them.
I just took his email from last week
Yeah.
and forwarded it
Yeah.
back to all of
If
you.
it truly happened.
okay.
But then
Yeah.
again,
Did that?
depending upon what,
I just saw the August 4th packet, and I said, well,
Yeah.
that's the
so it's not
packet.
gonna
I
have to
did.
come through.
When I saw
Oh, okay. I didn't retitle that.
During times. I mean, it depends on whether they accelerate it or not.
That's why I did.
That's why.
Yeah.
You're limited
Well, the
on-
plant shuts down. Yeah.
Yeah. Being concrete.
I didn't see the blue dot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Let's
Heading
see.
out any place in particular, Mike?
Oh, going to a bluegrass festival, if you can believe it.
Where at?